ICU nurse Maya Hart was on her knees in the emergency corridor, one hand pressed over a rescue map and the other reaching for the field radio, when Captain Owen Rourke's boot struck the edge of her medical bag and sent it sliding across the polished floor. "Get off my ship!" he yelled. The whole EER froze. Maya did not cry out. She only caught herself against the wall beside Trauma 2, where stretchers were lined beneath flickering red alert lights and nurses were trying not to stare. The captain stood over her in a dark naval jacket, jaw locked, eyes full of contempt. To him, she was just an ICU nurse who had wandered into a command crisis with a wrinkled map and a warning nobody wanted. But the radio under her palm was still hissing, and through the static, a voice repeated one impossible code. "Red Lantern, 6 minutes. North Waterline." Maya lifted her eyes, not to defend herself, but because she knew what that code meant. And if they ignored it, the next sound outside would not be sirens. Before we continue, comment your country below so we know where you are watching from. And if you believe the quietest person in the room can still be the one holding the truth, subscribe to Rescue Map Secrets for more emotional stories of courage, justice, and urgent respect. Maya Hart had spent 11 years learning how to keep her hands steady while other people lost control. She had held pressure on panic without raising her voice. She had counted breaths when alarms screamed. She had spoken softly to frightened families through glass doors at 3 in the morning. In the ICU, people thought calm meant weakness. Maya knew calm was a weapon. That morning, calm was all she had left. Port Mercy General had become a fortress of sound. Ambulances lined the entrance ramp. Police lights washed blue and red across the rain-slick windows. The emergency department had overflowed into the old surgical corridor, and every hallway sign had been covered by temporary command arrows. Deck A intake, Deacon, critical transfer, flight coordination. The storm that had torn across the bay before dawn had thrown a passenger ferry against the service pier and disabled 2 rescue launches. The naval hospital ship Resolute was docked outside as part of a disaster exercise, but the exercise had turned real before anyone had finished their coffee. Captain Owen Rourke, commander of the Resolute Medical Support Operation, had taken over the ER corridor like it belonged to him. He called it his ship. Nobody corrected him. Not the hospital CEO standing pale behind the command table. Elias Grant, the trauma surgeon with silver hair and a voice that made younger residents flinch. Not Lena Ortiz, the newest ER nurse, who kept glancing at Maya as though asking whether she should speak. Maya had not planned to speak at all. She had come down from the ICU because a respiratory tech had called in sick and a patient from the ferry needed a bed upstairs. She was supposed to take report, move quietly, and disappear back into the unit. Then she heard the radio. It sat on the command table between a laptop and a stack of laminated evacuation charts, an old field set someone had pulled from a disaster cache. When the digital channels became overloaded, most people ignored it because the voice was broken by static. But Maya had stopped mid-step when 3 words came through. Red Lantern check. Her fingers tightened around the chart in her hand. No one used Red Lantern anymore. Not unless a rescue route had failed. Not unless the official map was wrong. Not unless people were trapped somewhere that the command center did not believe existed. She had moved closer without thinking. Captain Rourke was barking orders into a satellite phone. Southpad remains primary. Transfer criticals to the Resolute. Choppers from the Coast Guard will stage there once one drops. Maya looked at the wall map. South Pad, Service Pier, Hospital Loading Bay, Old Seawall Road. She saw the plan in 3 seconds and the problem in 1. "Captain," she said. He did not turn. Captain Rourke, his head snapped toward her. "Who are you?" "Maya Hart, ICO. Your South Pad approach is wrong." The corridor seemed to inhale. Dr. Grant looked up from a tablet. "Excuse me?" Maya stepped toward the map. The wind is not the issue. The waterline is. The South Service Road floods from underneath when the tide backs into the maintenance tunnel. If you send critical transfers that way, they'll stall before they reach the pad. Rourke stared at her as if a mop bucket had started giving orders. The South Road is cleared. It looks cleared from street level, Mia said. But the lower tunnel vents connect under Pier 9. If Red Lantern is on the radio, someone is seeing water rise from the north side. His eyes hardened at the phrase. Mia saw it. Just a flicker. Recognition. Fear. My baby. Then it was gone. Do not repeat codes you don't understand, he said. I understand this one. A few heads turned. Rourke's voice dropped. Nurse, this is a Naval Rescue Command, and you're about to send ambulances into a dead road. Doctor Rand gave a short, humorless laugh. Maya, go back upstairs. She ignored him. Give me the harbor maintenance chart. Rourke stepped in front of the command table. No, the radio hissed again. Red Lantern, 6 minutes, North Water Line. Repeat, North Water Line. Maya moved before she decided to. She grabbed the old laminated map from the bottom of the stack and dropped to one knee, flattening it on the floor because the table was crowded with laptops and egos. Lena Ortiz took one frightened step toward her. Maya, Lena whispered. What are you doing? Counting. What? Maya pulled a black marker from her scrub pocket and circled the service tunnel beneath Pier 9. If the water line hits here in 6 minutes, the South Pad route closes in 9. The North Cargo Yard stays dry for 12 more. After that, only air. Captain Rourke's face flushed dark. You are not authorized to mark my charts. These charts are missing the underpass. They are official. They're incomplete. That was when he moved. It was not a full kick to her body. It was quicker than that, uglier because it was casual. His boot struck the side of her medical bag and the radio cord tangled beneath it. The bag skidded hard into the wall. Mia reached after it, and the motion knocked her shoulder against the metal door frame of Trauma 2. Lena gasped. Someone behind them murmured, Captain! Rourke's voice cracked across the corridor. Get off my ship! The humiliation settled louder than the alarms. Maya stayed low for one breath. 2. She could feel everyone watching. The residents, the paramedics, the frightened families pressed along the waiting room doors. Dr. Rand's face showed irritation, not concern, as if Maya had caused an inconvenience by being insulted in public. Rourke leaned closer. You are an ICU nurse. You do not command aircraft. You do not redirect naval transfers. And you do not spread panic in my corridor. Maya reached for her bag slowly. Inside the open pocket, half hidden beneath a roll of tape, was a worn metal tag she never wore at work. She shoved it deeper before anyone could see. I'm not spreading panic, she said. I'm reading the countdown. Rourke laughed once. The countdown, the radio popped again. This time the voice was clearer. Red Lantern to Mercy Command. Unconfirmed survivors below North Waterline. Request Nightingale verification. Maya went still. Dr. Grant frowned. What did it say? Nobody answered. Captain Rourke's eyes were no longer angry in the same way. Something old had moved behind them. Mia rose to her feet. The corridor seemed longer now. The lights colder. She looked at the map on the floor, at the black circle around Pier 9, at the official evacuation route drawn confidently through a place already filling with water. Captain, she said quietly, you need to move the landing zone. He stepped close enough that only she could hear the next words. Nightingale is dead. Maya's face did not change, but Lena Ortiz, standing just behind her, heard enough to whisper, Who is Nightingale? Before Maya could answer, the ER doors burst open, and 2 paramedics rolled in a man wrapped in a silver warming sheet. He was conscious, shivering, and gripping a cracked plastic ID tag so tightly his knuckles had gone white. Found him near the service pier. One paramedic called. He kept asking for mercy command. Maya looked down as the stretcher passed. The man's hand opened for half a second. On the ID tag, written in faded black marker, were two words that made her chest tighten. Valkyrie 7. She had not seen that name in 9 years. And Captain Rourke saw it too. The patient from the pier was placed in trauma 2, and for the next several minutes, everyone pretended the corridor had not just shifted beneath their feet. That was how hospitals survived chaos. People returned to tasks, gloves snapped, monitors beeped, doors opened and closed. Orders were given in clipped voices. The injured man was transferred from stretcher to bed. His wet jacket cut away without drama. His breathing assessed, his pressure checked, his name asked 3 times before he could answer. Samuel Keene, he said finally, teeth chattering. Harbor maintenance. Dr. Grant leaned over him. Mr. Keene, you're at Port Mercy, General. You're safe? Keene gripped his wrist. No, listen, North Tunnel. Maya moved closer. Captain Rourke remained in the doorway, arms folded. Dr. Grant glanced at it before speaking. We're aware of the situation. No, you're not, Keene rasped. They were below. Who was below? Maya asked. His eyes found hers, and for a moment, the panic in them sharpened into recognition. Not of her face, of her tone. The way she asked without wasting time. 3 medtechs, 2 ferry crew. My B-Bay more. Radio failed. I sent the code like the binder said. What binder? Rourke demanded. Keene flinched at the authority in his voice. The red one. Maintenance office. Flood routes. Maya took a slow breath. The red binder had survived. After everything, someone had kept it. Dr. Grant checked the monitor. He's confused. He is cold and scared, Maya said. That is not the same as confused. Grant's eyes narrowed. Maya, I know how to assess a patient, then assess what he's saying. Rourke stepped into the room. Mr. Keene, did you personally see trapped survivors? Keene swallowed. They were banging. The pier structure is unstable, Rourke said. No team is going under there based on noise. It wasn't just noise, Keene said. His hand shook as he lifted the crack tag. They gave this through the vent. Maya took it before Rourke could. Valkyrie 7. The plastic was old, the kind used for field logistics, not hospital admissions. On the back was a faded grid number. Maya's tomb paused over the indentation. Her throat tightened, but she kept her face still. Lena had followed them in with blankets and warm saline. She looked from Maya to the tag. What is that? A location marker, Maya said. Rourke said sharply. It is a piece of junk. No, Maya said. It's a promise. The room went quiet again. Dr. Grant exhaled through his nose. We do not have time for poetry. It's not poetry. Maya turned the tag over. Valkyrie was the name of a field evacuation plan for low-visibility rescues. 7 means last confirmed safe pocket before structural. Twitch. Grant stared at her. How do you know that? Maya did not answer. Because if she answered, she would have to say the name of the woman who had taught her. She would have to remember a Blackwater night off another coast, a radio pressed to her ear, a rescue map spread under shaking hands, and a voice saying, if command loses the route, the nurse keeps the map. She had built her life around not saying those words out loud. Instead, she looked at Samuel Keene. Did they say how many? She asked. Couldn't hear. My B5, my B8. One voice kept saying there was a medic with them. My eyes flicked to the clock above the trauma bay doors. 6 minutes had become 3. She stepped back into the corridor and grabbed the marker from the floor. Rourke followed. You will stop interfering, he said. Your south route is closing. You don't know that. Maya pointed to the old map. Keen came from the north tunnel. He had Valkyrie 7, the radio called Red Lantern. Your official chart is missing the lower maintenance connection. That is 3 independent confirmations. Rourke leaned over her, voice low and poisonous. You think 3 words and a wet tag give you the right to undermine command? No, Maya said. Experience does. Dr. Grant appeared behind them. What experience? Maya looked at him. For the first time, Grant seemed less irritated than unsettled. Lena answered softly before Maya could avoid it. She knew the code before the radio explained it. Maya's gaze moved to the younger nurse. Lena looked afraid, but she did not look away. Captain Rourke noticed that too. Ortiz. He snapped back to intake. Lena hesitated. Now she moved, but slowly. Maya crouched again and traced 2 rows. South pad, which Rourke wanted. North cargo yard, which still had open access if they moved immediately. Beyond it, the old hospital receiving lot. It was too small for a clean landing under normal protocols. But in a disaster, normal had already failed. Move the critical transfers to the north cargo yard, Maya said. Send 2 rescue techs through the laundry ramp with flotation lines. Have choppers approach from the east once the wind shifts off the bay. Rourke laughed under his breath. You're giving flight orders now. I'm giving survival math. You are giving fantasy. The radio crackled. Mercy command. This is harbor relay. Water rising at south underpass. Ambulance 3 reports obstruction. Repeat south route compromised. The words hit the corridor like a drop tray. Several people looked at Rourke. Maya did not. She was looking at the clock. 2 minutes, she said. Dr. Grant's face had changed. Captain, Rourke turned on him. We have redundant access. Maya shook her head. Not for long. Grant stepped closer to the map. Show me. Rourke's eyes flashed. Doctor, do not indulge this. But Grant had spent too many years around dying clocks to ignore one when he heard it. He crouched beside Maya, careful not to touch the map she had drawn. She pointed. The hospital loading bay slopes down toward the seawall. Once the tunnel backs up, water pushes debris into the gate. You lose ground transport. The north cargo yard remains higher, but only until the drainage pumps fail. Grant whispered. How long? 10 minutes if the pumps hold. 4 if they don't. And the choppers. Maya looked toward the sealed ambulance doors. They need somewhere outside the command hasn't marked. Grant followed her gaze. The old receiving lot, he said. Rourke's voice cut in. Impossible. Too narrow. Not for a light rescue bird, Maya said. And you know that, because you are secretly a pilot now. No, she said, because I've watched them land with less. The remark landed strangely. Not boastful, not defensive. It carried weight, like a door briefly opened onto something dark. Rourke noticed, so did Grant. Then the lights flickered. A low alarm pulsed through the hospital intercom. Not a code blue, not fire alarm. A facilities warning. Flood sensors active in South Service Corridor. The overhead voice announced. All personnel avoid lower loading access. Lena Ortiz stopped halfway down the hall and turned back. The official command chart had just failed in public. Maya picked up the radio. Rourke grabbed her wrist. Do not. His grip was firm enough that everyone saw it. Maya looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Captain, she said, very softly, if you keep holding me, everyone here will know you are more afraid of an ICU nurse with a radio than you are of the water. He released her as if burned. A murmur moved through the corridor. Maya raised the field radio. For 1 second she hesitated. Her thumb hovered over the transmit button, and the past rose so sharply it almost stole the air from her lungs. A woman's voice. Commander Elise Hartwell, mentor, friend. The closest thing Maya had to a mother after her own died. A field hospital corridor rocking under storm surge, a map soaked at the edges, a call that came too late. Don't wait for permission from people who aren't listening. Mia pressed the button. Harbor relay. This is Port Mercy ICU Nurse Maya Hart. Confirm Red Lantern origin and Valkyrie 7 marker. Static answered. Rourke looked almost relieved for half a second, as if silence would save him. Then the radio came alive. Port Mercy, say again. Did you identify as Hart? Mia closed her eyes briefly. Rourke whispered. No. The voice returned, clearer now. Mercy command. Authenticate Nightingale. The corridor froze for the second time. Maya opened her eyes. Dr. Grant stared at her. Lena took one step back toward the command table. Even Samuel Keene, from inside Trauma 2, lifted his head as if he had heard a ghost. Mia lowered the radio an inch. Captain Roar's face had gone gray. Nightingale, Lena whispered. The radio hissed again. Mercy command, if Maya Hart is on site, put her on command frequency. We have choppers holding east of the bay and survivors below the north waterline. We need the nurse who drew the old rescue map. No one spoke. Not because they understood, because they finally understood that they did not. The moment after a secret enters a public room is always strained. No one knows whether to look at the person who carried it or the person who tried to bury it. At Port Mercy General, they looked at Maya Hart first. Her blue ICU scrubs were creased from kneeling on the floor. Her hair had come loose at one side. A thin line of rainwater from the earlier transport still darkened the hem of her sleeve. She looked nothing like a commander, nothing like a legend, nothing like the name that had just come through the radio. That made it worse for the people who had dismissed her. Dr. Grant stood slowly. Maya, he said, and for the first time in years, he used her name without impatience. What map? Captain Rourke answered before she could. There is no old rescue map. Maya looked at him. The lie was too quick. Grant heard it, too. Captain, Rourke straightened. This is a command matter. It became a hospital matter when your route flooded. Grant said. Maya turned back to the radio. Harbor relay, I need current wind bird type, fuel limit, and number of confirmed survivors, Maya warned. She ignored him. The radio answered. 2 light rescue choppers, call signs Finch 1 and Finch 2, holding east, fuel margin 21 minutes. Confirmed survivors unknown. Audio contact with at least 6. 1 critical voice fading. Access below Pier 9. Unstable. Request landing guidance. The words, critical voice, fade in changed the room. Doctors could ignore maps. Captains could dismiss nurses. But no one in an emergency department could ignore a voice that might disappear. Mia reached for the marker again. Her hand trembled once, almost imperceptibly. Lena saw and stepped beside her, holding the edge of the map flat without being asked. Tell them to stay east, Maya said. No south approach, no roof pad. Rourke snapped. The roof pad is certified, not with 2 birds and a crosswind off the bay. We have used it before, not during flood sensor activation with ground transfers blocked. Grant looked at the hospital administrator. Can facilities confirm roof load? The administrator stammered. I can ask. No time, Maya said. Use the receiving lot. Clear vehicles. Kill overhead lines at the East Pole. Security needs glow cones, not flares. Ambulance crews move critical patients away from the windows. Rourke stared at her. You have rehearsed this. Maya's jaw tightened. Yes, 1 word. It carried no pride. The radio crackled again. Nightingale, confirm receiving, lot dimensions. Maya flinched at the name but answered. 92 feet by 108 if the catering truck is moved. Light pull at northwest corner. Approach east-southeast. Set down one bird at a time. Grant looked toward the receiving lot doors. She knows the measurements, Lena whispered. Who measures an old receiving lot? Maya heard her and almost smiled. But it hurt too much. Someone who couldn't save the last one, she said. The sentence silenced everyone close enough to hear it. Rook's anger cracked for the first time. That is not what happened. Maya turned. Then what happened, Captain? He did not answer. A shout came from Trauma 2, pressure dropping. Dr. Grant moved instantly. Maya followed. The confrontation cut short by the one authority neither of them would challenge. A patient in front of them. Samuel Keene was pale, shaking harder now. His breath coming too fast. The fear and cold had pushed his body toward collapse. Dr. Grant began issuing orders. Lena moved with practiced urgency, passing supplies, checking lines, adjusting warm blankets. Maya stepped to Keene's head. Samuel, she said. Look at me. His eyes flickered. You got the tag out, she said. You got the code out. That means you did your job. Now let us do ours. His breathing hitched. They're still down there. I know. You believe me? I believed you before I knew your name. His eyes filled. They told me command would come. Maya glanced toward the corridor where Rook stood motionless. Command is learning, she said. Dr. Grant looked up at that, but he did not rebuke her. He was watching her hands. Maya had placed one palm near Samuel's shoulder, grounding him without restraining him, speaking in a rhythm that slowed him more effectively than shouting would have. She adjusted the warming line before the resident even noticed it had kinked. She saw the monitor change half a beat before the alarm sounded. This was not luck. This was not an ICU nurse meddling outside her lane. This was someone who had done crisis medicine in places without hallways, without backup, without enough light to read a label. Grant's voice softened. Mia, I need him stable for imaging. He won't tolerate transport yet, she said. Give him 6 minutes here. We might not have 6. He doesn't have 1 if you move him now. Their eyes met. For once, Grant weighed her words instead of her title. Fine, he said. Outside Trauma 2, the command corridor unraveled and rewove itself. Security ran toward the receiving lot. A facilities worker shouted into a phone about cutting power to an exterior pole. Lena slipped out long enough to move Maya's bag back beside the map. When she picked it up, the worn metal tag fell halfway from the pocket. Lena froze. It was not a military dog tag. It was a small field medical tag, darkened at the edges, stamped with a winged lantern symbol and one line of text. Nightingale cell, M.R. Lena did not touch it. Maya saw her looking and gently pushed it back into the pocket. Please don't ask yet, Maya said. Lena nodded. Okay. That small mercy nearly broke her. The radio called again from the corridor. Mercy command, Fitch 1, requests final authority. Who has landing control? Rook reached for the radio. Mia stepped out of Trauma 2 at the same time. For one suspended second, both their hands hovered over the transmitter. Then Dr. Grant came out behind Maya and said, Captain, she has the map. Rook stared at him. Grant's voice was steady. And right now the map is command. It was not an apology, but in a corridor full of witnesses, it was the first brick pulled from the wall. Maya took the radio. Finch 1, this is Nightingale at Port Mercy, she said. Several people sucked in a breath at the name. Mia continued, though the word tasted like grief. Receiving lot is being cleared. Approach east-southeast. 1 bird only until I mark the second. Watch for rotor wash against the ambulance canopy. We have glass on the west side and oxygen carts moving inside. Confirm visual on green strobes when set. A new voice answered, calmer and closer than the relay. Nightingale Finch 1 copies. Then, after a pause, the pilot added, Ma'am, we were told you were gone. Maya looked at Captain Rourke. His face was unreadable now, but his hands had curled into fists at his sides. The corridor heard every word. And somewhere beyond the sealed emergency doors, the first distant chop of rotor blades began to tremble through the rain. The sound did not arrive all at once. At first, it was only a vibration inside the walls, a low pulse behind the alarms and shouted orders. Then the ceiling tiles began to tremble. A couple of pens rattled across the command table. The waiting room quieted not because people were calm, but because every person in the ER recognized the sound of help coming from the sky. Shoppers, but they had not landed yet, and until they did, everything could still fail. Mia stood over the rescue map while the world around her moved faster. She had become the center of a circle that had not existed 10 minutes earlier. Security reported vehicles clearing. Facilities confirmed power cut to the East Pole. Ambulance crews moved patients away from the glass. Dr. Grant assigned residents to interior bays. Lena took notes beside Maya, writing down every instruction like it was a sacred language. Captain Rourke stood 3 feet away and said nothing. His silence was not surrender. Maya knew men like him. Silence meant calculation. It meant waiting for one mistake large enough to seize control again. The radio crackled. Nightingale, Finch 1 visual on hospital. Receiving lot partially obstructed. Confirm large white truck moving. Maya looked toward the exterior security feed. A catering truck was still angled across the back of the lot. Security, she called. White truck is not clear. A guard's voice shouted back from a phone on speaker. Driver can't find the keys. Rourke seized on it. This is exactly why the roof pad remains the safer option. Maya did not look at him. Break the window. Release the brake. Push it with the ambulance bumper. The administrator gasped. That's hospital property. Lena looked at him as if he had spoken in another language. People are trapped under a pier. Grant pointed to a paramedic. You are all following an authorized nurse into liability. Maya turned slowly. No, she said. They are following the only route that has not lied to them yet. The words struck harder because she did not raise her voice. Rourke stepped close. You want to talk about lies? Mia eyes sharpened. Not here, she said. Oh, now you care about the room? I care about the rescue. You care about proving I was wrong. She looked at him then, really looked, and for a flicker of a second the corridor disappeared. She saw a younger version of him through rain and smoke, a captain standing in a makeshift operations tent, refusing to change a route, because changing it meant admitting the official map had failed. She saw Commander Elise Hartwell leaning over Maya's shoulder, drawing a second route with a grease pencil. Valkyrie 7, Red Lantern, Nightingale, a night of voices asking for help, a report filed afterward with 3 pages missing. Mia had been 29 then, young enough to believe the truth would defend itself if she simply gave it to the right people. Old enough to learn it would not. I don't need to prove you were wrong, Maya said quietly. The water already did. Rourke's expression faltered. Before he could respond, the receiving lot camera showed the white truck lurch forward under the slow push of an ambulance. Its tires turn, then roll. The lot opened. Lena exhaled. Mia raised the radio. Finch 1, obstruction clearing. Wait for green strobes. Copy. Fuel margin 60 minutes. Grant's head snapped up. 16. Mia nodded. If they can't sit down, they leave. And the people below, Pier 9. They wait for a rescue that might not come. The corridor understood the math. Urgent respect is different from admiration. Admiration has time to clap. Respect in an emergency moves its feet. People who had smirked at Maya earlier now ran when she spoke. The same resident who had rolled his eyes when she crouched with the map sprinted to move oxygen carts from the West Hall. The administrator who had worried about her truck window began calling maintenance with a shaking voice. Lena stood taller with every order she repeated. But Captain Rourke was still a wall. He picked up a sealed folder from the command table. It had been brought from the Resolute's records cache by an ensign moments earlier, probably because of the repeated radio codes. Rourke opened it just enough to see the top page. Mia noticed, so did Grant. The captain's face changed. It was not fear this time. It was recognition sharpened by shame. Grant stepped closer. What is that? Rourke closed the folder. Nothing relevant. Maya looked at the label. Field Incident Review Operation Valkyrie Appendix 7. Heart map revisions. The room narrowed around those words. Appendix 7. The missing page. Mia reached for the folder. Rourke pulled it back. This is classified. Maya's voice went thin. That file was sealed. It remains sealed. It was also incomplete. His eyes flashed. You do not know what you are talking about. I know my map was removed. Grant looked between them. Removed from what? Maya swallowed. Her old wound opened with a pain so familiar it almost felt like weather. From a rescue report, she said. 9 years ago. Lena whispered. The one you said you couldn't save? Maya did not answer. The radio spared her. Mercy Command, Finch 1 has green strobes. Beginning descent. The first chopper dropped into view on the security feed. Its lights cutting through rain. The receiving lot filled with wind. Loose paper shot across the pavement. Security guards crouched behind concrete barriers, arms raised against the blast. Inside the ER, the windows shuddered. The sound became enormous. People in the waiting room stood. A child covered his ears. Nurses steadied supply carts. Dr. Grant moved instinctively toward the trauma bays, checking that every patient was shielded from the glass. Maya watched the descent on the monitor, one hand on the radio, the other pressed flat on the old map. Finch 1, she said. Watch, drift, left, correct, right, 3. Copy. Correcting. The chopper steadied. Rourke watched her, the sealed file still in his hand. For the first time since he had kicked her bag away, he looked not at her scrubs, not at her title, but at her face. You should have stayed gone, he said. Mia did not turn. I tried, she answered. The chopper touched down outside. The corridor erupted into motion. Finch 1 down, the pilot called. Send medical lead. Everyone looked to Captain Rourke. Then the pilot's voice came again, loud through the radio. Correction. Send Nightingale. The command corridor went silent in a new way. Not stunned this time. Certain. Maya lifted the radio slowly. I'm here, she said. Mom? The pilot answered. Rescue team requests your map before entering Pier 9. They say the old route is the only reason they found the air pocket. Maya closed her eyes. For 9 years she had believed that map lived only in her nightmares. Now it was being asked for by men in the rain, while a chopper waited outside and a corridor full of people heard the truth breathing. Captain Rourke looked down at the sealed file in his hand, and Maya realized something that made her chest go cold. He had known the map existed all along. The first chopper did not stay long. Its crew came through the receiving entrance bent against the wind, rain streaking their flight helmets, boots squeaking on the hospital floor. They carried waterproof cases, rope bags, and portable communications gear. The lead rescuer, a broad-shouldered man with a gray beard and a Coast Guard patch, stopped at the command table and looked past Captain Rourke directly to Maya. Nightingale. Maya nodded once. Chief Isaac Hale, he said. We have 8 minutes before Finch 1 has to lift. Finch 2 can circle once, maybe twice. I need the route. Captain Rourke stepped forward. Chief, command authority runs through me. Hale did not blink. Respectfully, sir, Air Rescue requested the map author. The map author. The phrase moved through the corridor like a match struck in darkness. Maya felt every eye land on her again. But this time, the weight was different. The humiliation had been hot and public. This was colder, more dangerous. Honor could cut as sharply as contempt when it arrived too late. She spread the old harbor chart beside her marked hospital map. The official tunnel diagram stops here, she said, pointing. That's wrong. There is a service scrawl behind the old pump room. It connects to a maintenance shelf above the north water line. If survivors are at Valkyrie 7, they are likely behind this bulkhead. Chief Hale leaned in. Can my team reach them from the pier? Not safely. Enter through the laundry ramp beneath the hospital, then take the utility corridor east until the pipe markings change from blue to yellow. There's a lock grate. Key? Maya looked at Samuel Keen's cracked tag on the table. Harbor Maintenance Master Key. He had it on a ring when he came in. Lena was already moving. Well, get it from Trauma 2. Dr. Grant stopped her. Ask first. He's conscious. Lena nodded and hurried away. Hale studied Maya. How do you know pipe colors in a hospital utility corridor? Maya's hand hovered over the map. Because I drew the alternate when the main route failed. No, she said. Somewhere else. Captain Rourke shut the sealed file with a hard snap. Maya looked at him. Hale looked too. The chief's voice became careful. Captain, is there something in that file my team needs? No, Maya said. Yeah. The word came out before fear could stop it. Rourke's eyes hardened. You are crossing a line. Maya faced him fully. People are below a waterline. The line crossed us. The corridor held its breath. Dr. Grant stepped beside Maya. Lena returned with the key ring and froze when she saw the two of them facing the captain. Chief Hale extended his hand. Captain, if that file contains root corrections, prior structural notes, or hazard markers, I need them now. Rourke did not move. Maya understood then that this was not only pride, it was terror. For 9 years, she had thought his silence came from arrogance, from the kind of officer who would rather bury a nurse's warning than admit she had been right. But now she saw something worse in him. He had built his life on the version of the story that left her out. And if that version collapsed, he would have to stand inside the real one. Dr. Grant spoke quietly. Owen. Maya blinked. She had forgotten Grant and Rourke knew each other before this disaster. Navy medicine, old conferences, old circles. Grant's voice lowered. What? Yeah. What is? Fuel margin 7. Chief Hale's jaw tightened. Captain. Rourke looked at the receiving doors, then back at Maya. You don't know what it cost, he said. Maya's voice broke. Just slightly. I know exactly what it costs. For a moment, the ER corridor was gone again. 9 years earlier, Maya Hart had been a critical care nurse assigned to a joint humanitarian mission after a coastal quake. The field hospital had been set beside an old port, where maps were outdated and roads disappeared underwater without warning. Commander Elise Hartwell had led the medical evacuation cell with a lantern clipped to her vest and a field radio that never left her hand. When the main convoy route flooded, Maya found the alternate by listening to local maintenance workers, everyone else dismissed. She drew the map that guided 3 rescue teams out, but one team never received the update. The report later said the alternate route was unverified. It said command had insufficient time. It said Nurse Maya Hart's map was incomplete. It did not say her revised page had been removed before review. It did not say Captain Owen Rourke signed the abbreviated report. It did not say Commander Hartwell died. Believing Maya's warning had been ignored by mistake. Maya had spent 9 years carrying guilt for a failure that had been edited around her. Now a sealed folder with her name on it sat in the hands of the man who knew. Give him the file, Maya said. Rourke stared at her. Not for me, she added. For them. That did it. Not Grant's pressure. Not Hale's authority. Not the watching corridor. Them. The people below Pier 9, waiting in dark air for adults above ground to stop protecting themselves. Rourke handed the folder to Chief Hale. Hale opened it on the command table. Several pages were stamped with old review markings. One fold-out map slid free. Its corners were worn. Its ink had faded, but Mia knew every line because the hand that drew them had been hers. At the bottom, in Elise Hartwell's handwriting, were 6 words. Heart's root is sound. Use it. Maya touched the page with 2 fingers. The corridor blurred. Lena covered her mouth. Dr. Grant looked away, ashamed and angry, though not at Maya. Chief Hale scanned the page. This matches the hospital underpass. The old port designs were copied here, Maya said, forcing herself back into the present. Same contractor, same drainage flaws. The receiving lot and laundry ramp are the only high ground access points left. Hale nodded. Then we move. Rourke seemed smaller now, though his uniform had not changed. Hale turned to his team. Laundry ramp, yellow pipe corridor, lock rate. Valkyrie 7, move fast, keep comms open. The rescue team ran. The radio carried their footfalls for several seconds, then static. Finch 1 lifted outside, its engine roar shaking rain from the window frames. Finch 2 circled in the gray sky, waiting for a landing that would matter only if the team returned with survivors. Maya stood at the command table with the old map open beneath her hands. No one told her to get off the ship now, but respect, when it arrives late, does not erase what happened before it. Captain Rourke looked at the floor where her medical bag had skidded earlier. His voice was low. I thought if the file stayed sealed, the dead could rest. Maya did not look at him. No, she said. You thought you could? The rescue team's radios turned the ER corridor into a place of listening. Every few seconds, Chief Hale's voice broke through. Entering laundry ramp, static. Yellow pipe markings confirmed, static. Water at ankle level, moving east, static. Grate in sight. Maya translated each update before anyone asked. She marked their progress with the black marker, drawing small X's along the utility corridor. Lena stood beside her with fresh gloves tucked into her pocket and tears she refused to let fall. Dr. Rand moved between trauma bays and command, checking patients returning for updates, then going back again with the control speed of a man trying to earn back every second he had wasted. Captain Rourke stood apart. No one ordered him away. That would have been too simple. He had to remain in the room and watch the nurse he humiliated hold the only map that mattered. Samuel Keene was stable enough now to be propped slightly in trauma 2. Grant had left the sliding door open so he could hear. When Hale reported the lock rate, Keene raised a weak hand. The square key, he called. Lena ran the key ring to the command table. Maya selected one without hesitation. Rourke noticed. How did you know? She held it up. Maintenance keys are numbered by gate type. Square head for pump grates, triangle for roof access, round for fuel cage. You remember all that? I remember what people ignore. The line landed hard. Lena took the key to the rescue runner at the corridor entrance, who carried it down toward the laundry ramp. On the radio, Hale cursed softly, then said, Key received. Opening grate. Everyone waited, static. A metallic groan came through the speaker. Then Hale's voice. We're through. A quiet cheer started near the nurse's station and died quickly when the next update came. Water rising faster. We have maybe 5 minutes in this corridor. Maya's marker stopped moving. Dr. Grant saw her face. What? If they go straight to the bulkhead, they'll lose the return path. Hale must have sensed the same danger, because his voice followed. Nightingale advised, corridor slope is pulling water behind us. Maya pressed transmit. Do not proceed directly to Valkyrie 7. Take the pipe ladder on your right before the bend. A pause. Negative visual. No ladder. It's recessed behind the service panel. Waist height. Painted gray. Rourke stared at the old file. The ladder is not on the official diagram. Maya, answered the radio. Hale, count 12 steps from the grate. Reach right. There's a latch. Static. Breathing. Footsteps. Then Hale. Panel found. Lena whispered. Oh my God. Maya closed her eyes for half a second. The room did not see a miracle. It saw the result of memory work and warnings that had once been dismissed because they came from the wrong person. Hale spoke again. Ladder leads up to a shelf. Dry. We can bypass the low corridor. Maya exhaled. Follow it until you hear the bulkhead. The survivors should be on the other side. Copy. For the first time in nearly half an hour, Captain Rourke sat down. Not in command, not at the table. On a plastic chair against the wall, as if his legs had finally admitted what his pride would not. Dr. Grant approached Mia quietly. I owe you an apology. Not yet, he blinked. Help them come back first, Grant nodded, accepting the rebuke because it was deserved. Tell me what you need. Clear trauma 3 and 4 for cold exposure and respiratory distress. Keep 1 bay ready for crush-free entrapment complications, but no panic language. Warm blankets, oxygen, ultrasound, portable monitors. No crowding when they arrive. He nodded again. Don't. Mia almost thanked him. She stopped herself. The moment did not need politeness. It needed action. Rand turned and began giving orders. People obeyed him, but their eyes kept returning to Maya. The radio popped. We hear them. The corridor went completely still. Then, faint through the speaker, there came a sound no one would ever forget. Not words exactly. A muffled rhythm. Human voices behind metal. Alive. Lena began crying silently. Mia gripped the edge of the table. Hale said, survivors located behind bulkhead. We have 7 visible through gap. 1 medic, 2 ferry crew, 4 passengers, possibly more behind them. Air pocket, holding but water rising. Need extraction route. Maya, scan the map. Bulkhead wheel, jam. Do not force it from the front. There's pressure on the other side. Rourke stood suddenly. If they don't open it, they drown. Maya's head snapped toward him. The word was ugly in the room. Rourke realized it too late. Mia's voice stayed control, but everyone heard the blade in it. We do not say that over an open radio. Hale's voice came back, tight, but steady. Nightingale, alternative. Maya looked at Appendix 7, her old map, Alice's handwriting. The missing wrote there was another way, but it meant sending the rescue team through a side shaft so narrow that only 1 person could enter at a time. And if the water rose too quickly, the rescuer would be cut off. She had not marked it on the hospital chart yet because she had hoped they would not need it. Rourke saw where her eyes went. No, he said. Maya looked at him. He knew this part too. The side shaft is unstable, he said. Hale heard. Say again. Maya ignored Rourke and pressed transmit. There is a service shaft above the bulkhead. It opens behind them. You can pass flotation harnesses through before opening the door. Hale said. Access from the shelf. Continue east 8 feet. Ceiling panel. Manual latch. Rourke stepped closer. Voice rough. That shaft collapsed during Valkyrie. Maya turned on him. Because your team forced the lower door first, the corridor absorbed the accusation. His face tightened. She did not stop. Elise told you to use the shaft. I told you to use the shaft. The report said the shaft was unverified because you removed the verification page, Rourke whispered. I was trying to prevent blame from destroying the operation. No, Maya said. You let blame choose the smallest person in the room. Her voice did not break until the last word. Smallest, because that was what they had made her. A nurse with a marker. A woman too young, too quiet, too low-ranking, to contradict command. Afterward, when the report came out, people did not call her a liar. They were kinder than that. They called her overwhelmed. They called her mistaken. They called her brave but unreliable. Those words had nearly ended her career. Worse, they had made her believe that maybe she had failed Elise. Hale's voice cut through. Nightingale confirms I shaft safe enough for entry. Maya looked at the map. There was no safe in a disaster. Only true and false. Only risk with a reason and risk born from pride. Safe enough if you go one at a time with a t'other, she said. Do not send your largest rescuer first. Send the smallest with harness lines and a radio beacon. A younger voice came through, likely one of Hale's team. Me, Hale said. Copy. Preparing entry. Rourke closed his eyes. Mia watched him and understood something she did not want to understand. He was not afraid the team would fail because she was wrong. He was afraid they would succeed because she was right. Finch 2 called from above. Mercy, fuel margin, 9. We can land for extraction or divert, Maya answered. Hold for extraction. Receiving lock clear for second landing. Stand by. Grant returned. Bays ready. Lena whispered. Maya, they're going to make it. Maya stared at the radio. I don't know, she said. It was the most honest thing anyone had said all morning. Then the young rescuer's voice came through, breathless. I'm in the shaft. I can see them. The ER corridor erupted into a sound that was almost a sob. Maya lowered her head. Chief Hale spoke quickly. Passing harnesses, survivors responsive. Medic inside assisting. Preparing controlled release. Maya gripped the radio. Hale, tell the medic to move children and weaker passengers to the rear shelf before you crack the bulkhead. Keep everyone seated. No rush toward the opening. A pause. Then Hale returned. Voice changed. Nightingale, the medic says she knows. Maya froze. Grant saw it? What? Maya pressed transmit. Her voice suddenly softer. Hale, identify medic. Static stretch. Then a woman's voice came through. Faint, exhausted but steady. This is Petty Officer Dana Vale. We have 7 survivors and 1 stubborn harbor worker's promise. Whoever is on that radio, your map got us here. Maya's hand went to her mouth. Dana Vale, the daughter of Commander Elise Hartwell. Maya had not known she was in the tunnel. For 9 years, Maya had carried guilt for failing Elise. Now Elise's daughter was below the waterline. Alive because of the map Elise had once defended. The corridor blurred again, but Maya forced herself upright. Dana, she said, voice trembling, despite every effort. This is Maya Hart. Silence. Then the woman below the pier whispered one word. Nightingale. Maya closed her eyes. Yes. The radio filled with a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob or both. My mother said if everything went wrong, Dana said. Listen for the nurse with the lantern. Maya's tears fell then, quietly, without shame. Captain Rourke looked away, but no one else did. The second chopper landed outside 7 minutes later. By then, the ER no longer looked like the same place. The command table had shifted closer to Maya's map. The official chart lay underneath it now, not discarded, but corrected. The old Appendix 7 was sealed in a clear hospital sleeve beside the field radio. Lena had written North Route active on the whiteboard in letters large enough to be seen from the ambulance doors. Dr. Grant had turned Trauma 3 and 4 into warming bays, and no one objected when Maya adjusted his plan. Outside, Finch 2 came down hard through the rain, its landing lights flashing against the hospital walls. The rotor wash flattened puddles across the receiving lot. 2 security guards guided the rescue team toward the entrance with green strobes. Inside, staff lined the corridor, not as spectators, but as a living chain ready to receive. Captain Rourke remained near the wall with the sealed folder held at his side. He had not apologized. Maya was grateful for that. In a strange way, an apology before the rescue ended would have been for him, not for her. The radio crackle. Hail to mercy. First two survivors moving. Cold, conscious. Medic Dana Vale ambulatory, but staying with last passenger. Maya smiled through tears she had stopped trying to hide. Of course she is. Grant heard the affection in her voice. You know her. I knew her mother, the commander. Maya nodded. Rand looked at the field tag in her pocket. Hartwell. Maya's throat worked. Elise Hartwell. She trained me to see what command missed. Rand's expression darkened with self-recognition. And today I became command. Maya did not soften it for him. For a while, he accepted that too. The receiving doors opened. Cold air and rain swept into the corridor as the first rescue stretcher came through. The survivor was wrapped, conscious, frightened but safe. Then a second, then a third walking with support. Staff moved around them with practiced tenderness, no shouting, no crowding. Maya watched each face, counting 1, 2, 3. Samuel Keene, still in trauma 2, began to cry when the fourth survivor passed his doorway and lifted a weak hand toward him. You got it out, the survivor called. Sam, you got the code out. Keene covered his face. Maya looked at Lena. Tell him that matters. Lena nodded and went to him. The fifth survivor arrived shivering but alert. The sixth was carried with oxygen. Rand took that bay himself. His voice low and careful. No graphic panic, no spectacle, only skill. Then Chief Hale entered, soaked from helmet to boot. Behind him walked Petty Officer Dana Vale. She was younger than Maya expected and older than her years. Her face was pale with cold, but her eyes were clear. Around her neck hung a waterproof pouch, and inside it, pressed flat against the plastic, was a small laminated card. She crossed the corridor slowly. No one stopped her. Maya stepped forward. For 1 second, they simply looked at each other. Maya saw Elise in the set of Dana's jaw, in the stubborn lift of her chin, in the way she held herself upright, even when exhaustion pulled at her shoulders. Dana reached into the pouch and removed the card. My mother gave me this when I graduated, she said. She said it belonged to the nurse who saved more people than command ever counted. Maya stared at it. It was a copy of the old Valkyrie route card. On the back, in Elise Hartwell's unmistakable handwriting, was a note. If this map is ever questioned, find Maya Hart. She told the truth when others needed permission. Maya could not breathe for a moment. Dana's own tears finally slipped free. I thought you were dead. Maya shook her head. Some people preferred the story that way. Dana looked past her, at Captain Rourke. The corridor followed her gaze. Rourke's face collapsed inward, not like a villain cornered, like a man who had finally reached the locked room inside himself and found it still full. He stepped forward. Chief Hale subtly moved between him and Dana, but Maya raised one hand. Rourke stopped anyway. His voice was hoarse. Petty Officer Vale, your mother was one of the finest officers I ever served with. Dana said nothing. Rourke looked at Maya then. She told me to use your route, he said. Maya's hands curled around the edge of the map. I know. I didn't trust it. You didn't trust me. He flinched. The distinction mattered. Rourke looked around the corridor. The people who had watched him humiliate Maya were now watching him answer for it. The CEO, the surgeon, the residents, the nurses, the guards, the rescued harbor worker, the daughter of the woman whose note had outlived the lie. He removed his captain's cap slowly. I signed a report that made your warning look uncertain, he said. I told myself it was to protect operational confidence. I told myself the mission needed a clean record to keep funding, keep authority, keep future rescues alive. Maya's voice was quiet. And what did it cost? Rourke looked at Dana. Trust, he said, and a nurse's name. Maya swallowed. The apology came then. but not polished. I was wrong, he said. 9 years ago, today, in this corridor, when I yelled at you, when I kicked your bag, when I called this my ship, as if command is ownership instead of responsibility. The corridor was silent enough to hear rain against the glass. I am sorry, Nurse Hart. Maya looked at him for a long moment. Forgiveness is often demanded like a final scene. Real forgiveness is less cinematic. It does not always arrive when the apology does. Sometimes the wound has to decide whether it wants to close, and sometimes justice is simply making the truth stand where the lie once stood. Maya nodded once, not acceptance, not absolution, acknowledgement. Then she turned to Chief Hale. How many total? 7 survivors from the pocket, he said. All out. Maya closed her eyes. 7. Valkyrie 7 had not become a memorial this time. It had become a rescue. The corridor finally allowed itself to breathe. People cried quietly. A resident leaned against the wall and covered his mouth. Lena hugged Samuel Keen's shoulder while he laughed through tears. Dr. Grant stood in the doorway of Trauma 4, watching Maya, as if seeing an entire person where he had once seen only a role. Ben, the radio crackled one last time from Finch 2-2. Mercy, this is Finch 2. Before we lift, aircrew request confirmation for lot. Maya picked up the transmitter. Go ahead. Who held ground command for receiving lot rescue? Maya looked toward Captain Rourke. He lowered his eyes and stepped back. Dr. Grant looked at her. Lena smiled through tears. Dana Vale stood beside the old map with her mother's note in her hand. Maya pressed transmit. Ground command was held by Port Mercy ICU Nurse Maya Hart. Call sign Nightingale. The pilot answered without hesitation. Copy, Nightingale. For the record, your map saved the mission. Outside, the chopper lifted into the gray morning, rising past the ER windows, carrying the sound of rotors over the hospital roof and out across the flooded bay. This time, no one in the corridor mistook the noise for chaos. It sounded like respect. By evening, the storm had moved out over the open water, leaving Port Mercy under a bruised purple sky. The hospital still smelled faintly of rain, coffee, and disinfectant. Exhausted nurses moved through softened light. Families whispered in waiting rooms. Somewhere upstairs, a rescued passenger asked for soup. Somewhere down the hall, Samuel Keen was telling the same part of the story for the 5th time. Each version making the radio static louder and his own bravery smaller than it had been. Maya returned to the ICO just before sunset. Her unit was quieter than the ER, but not peaceful. ICUs were never peaceful. They were places where machines breathed beside hope, where families learned to speak in whispers, where nurses knew that victory sometimes meant one stable hour. She washed her hands longer than necessary. Lena found her in the staff room with the old field tag on the table. Dr. Grant is looking for you, Lena said. Maya gave a tired smile. That sounds ominous. He looks different. People often do after the floor disappears under them. Lena sat across from her. For a while, neither spoke. Then the younger nurse said, when he kicked your bag, I want to say something. Maya looked up. I didn't, Lena admitted. I was scared. That does not make you bad. May touch the field tag with one finger. Quiet is not always wrong. Staying quiet after you know the truth is where the danger starts. Lena nodded, holding the words carefully. Were you really going to let them keep thinking you were just IQ? She asked. Mia laughed softly, though it hurt. I am ICU. You know what I mean. Maya looked through the small window toward the bay. In the distance, the Resolute's lights glowed at the dock. For years, the sight of a naval vessel had tightened something inside her. Tonight, it felt different. Not healed, but named. I spent a long time thinking my past was a room I had to keep locked, she said. Not because I was ashamed of what I did, because every time I opened it, I heard the people who said it wasn't enough. Lena's eyes shone. Was it enough? Mia picked up Elise's copied route card, the one Dana had left with her. 7 survivors. A medic, a harbor worker who got the code out, a corridor that learned to listen. Today, Mia said. It was. A knock sounded. Dr. Rand stood in the doorway, no white coat now, just wrinkled scrubs and a face stripped of its usual armor. Can I come in? Maya nodded. Lena started to rise, but Grant said, Stay, please. You should hear this too. He stepped inside and held out a printed memo. Temporary Incident Command Report, he said. I wanted you to see the language before it goes upstairs. Maya took it warily. The first paragraph named the flood warning, the failed south route, the alternate receiving lot landing, the Pier 9 rescue. The second paragraph listed contributing staff. Her name appeared first. Mia Hart, RN, ICU. Identified obsolete route failure. Authenticated legacy rescue code. Red Lantern. Directed alternate landing zone preparation. And provided ground map guidance under Nightingale call sign. Her throat tightened. Rand said, I also added a formal correction request to the old professional review in your file. I can't undo what Navy Command did, but I can make sure this hospital stops repeating it. Maya looked at him. You read my file. I read enough to be ashamed of how little I asked before judging you. Lena looked down, blinking fast. Grant continued. I have spent years mistaking authority for accuracy. Today you reminded me those are not the same thing. Maya folded the paper slowly. Thank you, she said. Grant nodded. Captain Rourke is being relieved from local command, pending review. Maya absorbed that without triumph. And Dan Avail? She asked. Stable, refusing to rest until she sees you again. That did make Maya smile. Grant hesitated. There's one more thing. He stepped aside. Captain Rourke stood in the hall. Lena stiffened. Maya's face closed slightly, but she did not tell him to leave. Rourke entered like a man stepping onto ground he had no right to claim. He was no longer wearing the naval jacket. Without it, he looked older. I won't take much of your time, he said. Maya waited. He held out the sealed folder, now placed inside a hospital evidence envelope. The original Appendix 7 will go to the review board, he said. But Chief Hale made certified copies. One is for the hospital record. One is for Petty Officer Vale. He placed a third envelope on the table. And this one is yours. Maya did not touch it at first. Roar's voice lowered. Elise Hartwell wrote a final note that was never included. Maya's breath caught. Rourke looked down. I read it 9 years ago. I closed the file anyway. The room seemed to narrow. Maya opened the envelope. Inside was a single page, creased along old fold lines. The handwriting was faint but legible. If this reaches review, understand this clearly. Nurse Maya Hart did not fail command. Command failed to listen quickly enough. Her route saved lives before it was questioned. If blame must land somewhere, do not place it on the person who kept drawing exits while others argued over doors. Maya's hand trembled. For 9 years, grief had spoken in Elise's voice. Now for the first time, the voice said something else. Not your fault. Lena began to cry openly. Grant looked at the floor. Captain Rourke said, I am not asking you to forgive me. Good, Maya whispered. He nodded. I am asking what you want done with my statement. Maya looked up. What statement? I recorded a full correction. What I removed. Why I signed. Who objected? Who was ignored? His voice broke on the last word. I named you. The old anger rose in Maya, clean and bright. It wanted to say too late. It wanted to ask if a name restored after 9 years could give back sleep, confidence, promotions, missed, rooms entered with lowered eyes. But beside the anger stood Dana Vale below the pier, alive, Samuel Keene clutching the tag, Lena learning when to speak, Grant erecting a record, a chopper landing in a lot no one believed could hold it. Truth had arrived late, but late truth could still rescue someone. Send it, Maya said. Rourke closed his eyes. Hang you. That was not for you. I know. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. For what it is worth, he said, this was never my ship. Maya looked at him. Rourke's eyes moved to Lena, to Grant, to the ICU beyond them, to the hospital, still carrying hundreds of fragile lives through the night. It was always theirs, he said. The ones waiting to be saved. After he left, silence settled gently. Lena wiped her face. Are you okay? Mia looked at Alicia's note again. The answer was too large for one word. No, she said, but I think I'm finally allowed to be. Later, when the hospital lights dimmed and the last chopper was only a memory over the bay, Mia walked down to the ER corridor alone. The command table had been removed. The floor was clean. Her black marker lines were gone from the tiles, but a faint scuff remained near the wall where her medical bag had struck. She stood there for a long moment. In the morning, that spot had held humiliation. By night, it held proof. Dana Vale found her there, wrapped in a hospital blanket, stubbornly upright. Me mother would have liked this place, Dana said. Mia smiled. She would have reorganized it in 10 minutes. Dana laughed softly. Then she handed Maya the Valkyrie's 7 tag. I think this belongs with you. Maya shook her head. No, it belongs with the people who got out. Dana pressed it into her palm anyway. Then keep it until they can all sign it. Maya closed her fingers around the tag. Outside the ER doors, the receiving lot was empty now. No choppers, no floodlights, only wet pavement reflecting the first stars. Dana looked through the glass. When Finch 2 lifted, I heard the pilot say your map saved the mission. Maya swallowed. The map was only paper. No, Dana said. It was someone refusing to forget the way out. Maya turned the tag over in her hand. For years she had believed courage meant surviving being doubted. Today taught her something harder. Courage was speaking again, after doubt had taught you silence. It was kneeling on a hospital floor while powerful people laughed. It was picking up the radio even when the voice on the other end might reopen every wound. It was drawing the route one more time. Behind them, the ER continued. A nurse called for blankets. A doctor asked for transport. A family member whispered thank you to no one in particular. The hospital breathed, wounded and alive. Maya clipped the Valkyrie 7 tag beside her old Nightingale tag, not hidden in the pocket this time, visible. When Lena saw it the next morning, she smiled. When Dr. Grant saw it, he nodded with quiet respect. And when the corrected report finally reached the hospital board, the first line was read aloud in a room where no one interrupted. At 9:14 hours, ICU Nurse Maya Hart identified a failed rescue route before command accepted the warning. No one called her confused. No one called her unauthorized. No one told her to get off the ship, because by then, everyone at Port Mercy knew the truth. The woman they had dismissed in the corridor had not been trying to take command. She had been trying to bring everyone home. Sometimes the person holding the map is not the loudest voice in the room. Sometimes she is the nurse on the floor, insulted, ignored, and still counting the minutes no one else can see. Maya Hart did not need revenge to prove her worth. She needed the truth, a radio, and the courage to speak before the water rose. If this story moved you, subscribe to Rescue Map Secrets, and remember the quiet ones might be carrying the way out.